Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this lovely Wednesday for another episode of Wellness Wednesday. My name is Jada Fasold. I'm a health and wellness associate here within our health department. And today we're going to be talking about portion distortion. So let's jump right on in here. Before we begin, though, I just want to let you know that the information that is being provided is just in order to increase your awareness. It's not intended to be any type of medical advice. So if you believe that you may have a medical condition or you have a specific question regarding your health, I'm just going to ask that you please see your physician. In today's session, we will review what is portion distortion and how portion sizes have changed over time, and some tips and tricks on how to have a proper portion in your diet. As you know, over the past few decades, portion sizes have steadily increased, changing how we view what we consider a normal amount of food. So understanding portion distortion helps us recognize how oversized portions can lead to overeating, increased calorie intake, and then, of course, long-term health risks. Awareness is the first step towards making a healthier, more mindful choice. And I hope that today you're going to leave today's session with a better understanding of how you can make a positive impact on your diet just through healthier choices. So what do we mean by portion distortion? Well, basically, it's the idea that what we think of as a normal portion size has actually changed over time. Because if we look back about 20 or let's say 30 years ago, standard serving sizes were much smaller than what we're used to today. As portions have steadily gotten bigger, our perception of how much we should eat has shifted too. The problem is that larger portions usually mean more calories, more sodium, of course, more added sugars, and sometimes we're not even realizing it. When portions increase, people tend to eat more without feeling like they're overdoing it. And this is especially common when we go out to restaurants or when we're eating packaged foods, consuming sugary drinks, where the serving sizes are often much larger than the recommended portion sizes. And because of this, it can be really hard to recognize what one serving actually even is. Over time, consistently eating these oversized portions can contribute to weight gain and increase the risk of chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease. So here's a really important distinction I want to go over with you. A portion is the amount of food that you choose to eat at one time. It can be big or it can be small. On the other hand, a serving size, it's a standardized amount that's listed on nutrition labels, and it's used for calculating calories and nutrients. So for example, using the food label that I have here on the screen, let's say that you have a bag of chips. The label says that one serving is 1 ounce or about 25 chips, and that equals 140 calories. But let's say you don't portion that out and you end up eating half the bag. That means that you're going to end up consuming over 3 servings. So instead of the 140 calories that you see right there, when you eat as much as, those 3 servings, half the bag, you're actually eating almost 500 calories. And like I said earlier, it's not just the calories that matter. The fat and the sodium, the sugar, everything that's on that label is then multiplied by how many of those servings that you had. And this is where the portion distortion really adds up. Because often we eat more than just 1 serving, a lot of times without even realizing it, right? So the key takeaway here is that always check your serving size that's on the label and compare it to the portion that's actually in front of you and what you're eating. It's going to be an eye-opener, but it's going to help you make some more informed choices. This slide here, it highlights how food portions and eating habits have changed over time. So first you'll see there on the left-hand side, there's some broad trends here, right? Restaurant portions have steadily increased their sizes. Packaged foods now often contain multiple servings rather than just 1. Sugary drinks, which used to be consumed just occasionally as a special treat, not anymore. They've become part of an everyday routine for a lot of us. Along with that, both the plate and the cup sizes have grown too, making larger portions just feel more normal. The table on the right gives us a concrete comparison between 1980 and then today. So for example, a hamburger back in 1980 was about only 3 ounces and roughly 333 calories. Today, it's doubled in size. They're about 6 ounces now and nearly 600 calories. Soda servings show an even bigger change, going from just 6.5 ounces to 20 ounces, almost being the norm. That's almost tripling the portion size and calorie content. And along with that soda, French fries followed in a similar pattern, with portion sizes nearly tripling and calories increasing accordingly with that. So overall, this slide shows that portion sizes, not just your food choices, they have significantly increased over time, which helps explain the rise in daily calorie intake and related health concerns. This is an interesting one here. So soda. The portion size consumed can really increase calories and sugar. So let's look at the differences here. 48 calorie difference between just an 8-ounce can of soda and a 12-ounce can of soda. And then if you compare the difference between a regular 20-ounce bottle of soda and an 8-ounce can of soda, the difference there is 145 calories. So when we look at soda, one of the biggest concerns, it's not just the calories though, it's actually the huge amount of added sugar. That's a huge concern. A 20-ounce soda has 39 more grams of sugar than an 8-ounce can. And sugar-sweetened beverages, they're the #1 source of added sugars in our American diet, according to the CDC. The problem is that these sugary drinks deliver a large sugar load very quickly. And because liquid sugar doesn't make us feel full, it's really easy to consume far more than we were ever intended to. Regular intake of sugary drinks is linked to weight gain, obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and cavities too. So for children, the impact is just as concerning because a lot of kids consume sugary beverages weekly, even daily, which contributes to the excessive sugar intake early on in their life. This one might hit home for some of you. Coffee. Coffee drinks today often contain far more sugar than people expect. Many flavored lattes, frappes, and specialty drinks include multiple pumps of syrup, sweetened sauces, and of course the whipped cream. And all of that adds up really fast. It's not unusual for a large flavored coffee to contain 40 to 60 grams of added sugar, which is essentially the same or more than even a standard soda. And because these drinks are often seen as just coffee rather than treating it as a dessert, many people don't realize that they're consuming such high sugar levels. Highlighting drinks like these help show how sugar can sneak into our diets from places that we might not expect. So it's not just desserts and candy, but beverages we drink every day. So let's talk about how these portion sizes shape everything. Why do bigger portions lead to overeating? Well, it's not just about hunger, believe it or not. It's actually a lot of psychology behind this. Studies show that when we're served more food, we tend to eat more, even if we're not hungry. And this is what they call the portion size effect. People often underestimate how much they've eaten. Why? Well, larger portions reset our sense of what is normal. We anchor to what's just put in front of us. And this effect is so robust that it appears across ages, cultures, and food types. We also have a, what we call the clean the plate mentality, right? Many of us were taught from a very young age to finish everything that's on our plate. Although that may have been seen as a great thing, our portions and plates now are even larger than ever. And then we also have a value perception. So when we hear the word supersizing or choosing a larger meal, it feels like a better bargain, even if we don't need the food. Oftentimes we choose the large fry because it's only 50 cents more, right? Or the extra large drink due to a small price difference. So we'll go for the bigger one. The brain tries the quantity to like the economic value, right? So shifting our behavior toward larger portions. Our brains are wired to respond to visual cues as well. So when the plate looks full, we assume that that's the right amount to eat. But understanding this is what's going to help us make more mindful choices. And then there's also just the visual illusion. Large plates make the portions look smaller. So that encourages us over serving, right? So we fill up our entire plate and it looks like we're getting the best value. Also, tall glasses look fuller than wide ones, which alters our drink choice. And the food spread out looks like more, and compact food looks like less. So because of these perceptual errors, we unintentionally overserve and we overeat. So this slide here, talking about health, focuses on how overeating and portion size directly impact our health. First off, overeating often leads to weight gain and obesity. When we consistently consume more calories than our bodies need, that excess energy gets stored as fat over time. And as weight increases, so then does the risk of other chronic conditions. We see higher rates of diabetes and heart disease and other long-term health problems linked to excess weight. Another important point here is that overeating often becomes habitual. Mindless eating, like eating while being distracted or eating oversized portions, can slowly turn into a routine without us even realizing it.
This chart really highlights how significant the change has been over time. If you look at overall obesity rates, they increased from about 30% in 1990 to 2000 to over 40% in recent years. And what's even more concerning is severe obesity. That number has more than doubled, from around 4 to 5% to now over 9%. This tells us that it's not just more people becoming overweight, but more people experiencing serious high-risk levels of obesity. So how has this really affected you? Well, we've talked about how portion sizes have grown over the years. And think about your last meal and how many of these things showed up. How has portion distortion affected you? Do you usually finish everything on your plate, even if you're already full? And have you noticed that your portion size is getting bigger over time, maybe at home or when you're eating out? Do you feel like you need to get your money's worth when you're served a large meal? And then how often do you even check the serving sizes on your food labels? So think about this. What's one way that portion distortion has influenced your eating habits? I'll just give you a moment to think about that. To think of something like along those lines, because this is a great way just to becoming more mindful about our portions. This portion distortion that I'm talking about, it doesn't happen overnight. It just becomes normal over time. So let's talk about some strategies for healthy eating. First up, what we can do is we can downsize your plates. This is such a simple trick. When you use smaller plates and bowls, you naturally eat smaller portions without even thinking about it. Next, pre-portion your snacks. Instead of eating straight from the bag, divide them into single servings so you're not tempted to overdo it. And another really big one is mindful eating. What we need to do is we need to slow down. We need to really savor the food and try to avoid distractions like eating in front of a TV or eating while we're scrolling on the phone or even eating at our desks while we're scrolling through our emails and whatnot, because that is going to make a huge difference. Also keeping an eye on serving sizes by comparing what you're eating to the nutrition label. And finally, balancing our meals. Fill half of the plate with fruits and veggies, at least a quarter of it with protein, and another quarter with some whole grains. These small changes are easy to start today, and they can really add up over time. Another way that we can make a positive impact is when we're going out and we're dining out at a restaurant. When we eat out, the portion sizes are often much larger than what we actually need. So one thing that I always try to do is to mentally plan to eat about only half and then save the rest. Because if we're honest, right, restaurant portions are often 2 to 3 times larger than what our bodies actually even need. So before the food comes out, I remind myself that I don't have to finish what's on the plate. If I'm satisfied, that's enough, because I can always enjoy these leftovers later. One tip that I really like when I'm out with my friends and my family is just even sharing an entree. A lot of restaurant meals are more than enough for 2 people, and sharing lets me enjoy the meal without feeling overly full. Plus, it's a great way that we can try more than one dish. Another strategy that works well is to ask for a to-go box right at the very beginning of the meal. So that way, as soon as the food arrives, you pack up about half before you even start digging in. That way, you're not tempted to keep eating it just because it tastes good or because it's right there in front of you. It makes listening to the hunger cues much easier. And also try to be selective with beverages when dining out. The sugary drinks and specialty beverages, they can add up so quick, like you just saw in a couple slides before. So most of the time, I choose water or an unsweetened tea. And if you decide that you do want to have a sweet drink or an alcoholic drink, just make a conscious choice about it. And really just enjoy it instead of just mindlessly drinking away. One thing that helps me stay on track is to check the menu online before I even get to the restaurant. Decide what you want ahead of time, especially if you know that you're going to be hungry. It's so much better than just showing up at the restaurant starving, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to make a last-minute decision based on impulse of how your gut is feeling. And finally, I think it's important to remember just to enjoy your meal, because deprivation oftentimes is going to backfire. So here's some strategies to be more mindful when you're eating. First up, slow down. When we slow down while eating, we give our bodies time to recognize fullness. Instead of rushing through a meal, encourage taking smaller bites and putting utensils down in between your bites. For example, if I'm eating a sandwich, I might take a bite, I'll chew it fully, and pause before the next bite rather than eating it in just a few minutes. Eating slowly can improve digestion and reduce overall eating because it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to actually register that it's full. Another mindful tip is to even just question your hunger levels. Not all hunger is physically hunger. Sometimes you're just feeling that way because it's emotional, or it's an environmental thing that's happening, or maybe it's even just habitual. So before eating, pause and ask yourself, am I physically hungry or am I bored? Am I stressed? Or am I going to eat because I'm tired? I'm trying to stay awake. A helpful example is using a hunger scale from 1 to 10. So if I'm at a 7 or 8, that's really a physical hunger, like I need to eat. Okay, Jada, go ahead, eat. But if I'm just at a 3, I might just need to actually drink more water. I might need to take a break, or maybe just get up from my chair and move around instead of going right for the food. This strategy helps people make more intentional food choices. Another great thing is to listen to your body. Our bodies, they give us signals before and after we eat. We just need to pay attention. So we need to listen for signs of fullness, such as feeling satisfied and not being stuffed. For example, halfway through a meal, I might check in and ask myself, okay, how does my stomach feel right now? And if satisfaction is reached, it's okay to stop eating and save the rest for later. This reinforces body awareness and self-trust. And then practicing gratitude. Gratitude shifts the focus from restriction to appreciation. What I mean by that is before eating, take a moment just to acknowledge the effort that went into the food, whether it's the person who prepared it, whether it's the ingredients that are in your meal, or it's the nutrition that it's going to provide for you. For example, silently just thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm grateful for this meal and how it fuels my body. That can create a more positive eating experience. Practice gratitude. It can also reduce guilt around food and increase your enjoyment. Mindful eating isn't about being perfect. It's not about perfection. It's just really, it's awareness. So these strategies, they can help individuals slow down, tune in, and make choices that support both physical and emotional well-being. So as we wrap up, remember this. Small changes in portion sizes can lead to big health benefits. Just be mindful. Pause before you eat and ask yourself if you're truly hungry. And start small. And what I mean by that is use smaller plates and bowls, right? Check the labels, know what a serving size really is, and practice balance. Fill your plate half with veggies. And most importantly, take a moment here today and just choose one mindful strategy that we tried and talked about, and just try it this week. So think about it. What's one strategy that we mentioned throughout this presentation that you think that you can commit to today? And if you'd like, feel free to drop it in the chat because I love to read what your examples are and what you think you're going to try to aim for. I'd also just like to share the references with you. This is where today's information came from. And also share these 2 resources with you. So first is Neighborly. You can go to neighborlypa.com, and it's a great resource which talks about lots of low-cost and no-cost resources. The other one that is more aligned in what we were just talking about today is health coaching. So if you would like some health coaching here from someone in my department, we have registered coaches. You can schedule an appointment by calling our Geisinger Health and Wellness Department at 866-415-7138. Or feel free to also send us an email. You can reach us at wellness@geisinger.edu. We'd love to help you on your health and wellness journey. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week.